Hello everybody. Today we're talking about getting a more dynamic transition to increase your club speed, your distance, and even improve the direction of your shots. Obviously we're all trying to hit the golf ball further. At the same time we're trying to make a correct movement, and sometimes these two things are contradictory. You're trying to get into these positions, make the right technical movement, but you've got to understand, irrespective of how good you are technically, if you haven't got generating any speed in your movement, then obviously you're not going to hit the golf ball a long way. And one of the main problems is generating speed in the transition. How are you going to make your transition dynamic? If you look at club head speed, basically it's a combination of what I call base speed, which is the speed that the club and your hands are traveling just before impact, and the release. How good is your release? How late is it taking place? And if you can get that happening as close to the ball as possible, you're going to get a high multiplication of your base speed. But obviously you can only multiply the base speed, so the quicker you actually get the club down to this position, the higher the club speed's going to be at the end. And I think a lot of us are out there kind of trying to do it right, so that we're actually not really generating any base speed here at all. So even if we have the most efficient release in the game, we're still not hitting the golf ball any distance. So how can you increase the speed of the transition? Well, the first thing is to understand where the transition is and how it takes place. Basically, at the end of my backswing, when my shoulders stop rotating, my arms haven't quite finished the job yet, and the actual inertia of the golf club, momentum of the golf club, is going to keep pulling on my arms. And at that time, I'm changing direction. The bum's going back, the hips are rotating, the trail shoulder's coming down, pulling the trail leg, and then basically we go into this extension, which releases the legs and the arm angles through the golf ball, gives us the club head speed that we want. So the quicker I can get from this turnaround position to here, the more base speed I'm creating in my golf swing. And that's basically what we want to talk about doing today. So I've spoken in an awful lot of videos about the things you should be doing with your hips, the things you should be doing with your shoulders to get into this position. So I'm afraid you're going to have to go back at my back catalogue and have a look at some of those videos if you haven't seen them yet, and then come back and join us today on how we're going to speed them up. First thing to understand is that a lot of the muscles that you're going to be using both to turn your hips and get your trail shoulder down aren't used to moving at speed. You very rarely have a very sharp contraction in the stomach muscles or a sharp twisting in the foot muscles in order to actually help you turn your hips. So you're doing this only in a golf swing. So it will mean actually doing a lot of the exercises that we've been doing just to drill the movement at a little bit higher speeds. So if you can remember the one where I cross my arms across my chest, get the left or lead shoulder down, then I go into this kind of squatting movement. Before I would kind of gently tilt back and rotate, get the trail leg rotating. Now I want to do it a little bit more abruptly, so that I'm actually telling my hip to kind of do this almost as quickly as it can. Use a little bit of kind of gravity to actually get the bum going backwards. Now I know this is going to look very strange on the video because it looks like I'm actually going into my trail foot, and the truth is I am. You've got to always remember, if you're doing drills, that this isn't real life. You haven't got the forces in the golf swing moving you to the target. As soon as your trail shoulder comes down, it's trying to push you over here. So if you're only really concentrating on your lower body, you should almost have the feeling of it going in the other direction. So when your trail shoulder comes down, you stay in the middle. That's also the reason we don't want to be getting our weight transferred into the lead foot too early, because if I transfer into lead foot and then swing the club, I'm going with it. So never really look for identical movements. I know I get a few comments where people are saying, you say you're doing this, Jonathan, but it doesn't look anything like that when you've got a club in your hand. Thank goodness, because that's really, I'm exaggerating the movement to actually get a feeling for it. And it's exactly the same thing when I'm trying to do this abruptly or quickly. I'm not going to try and do it this quickly when I'm swinging a golf club. I'm going to let my body do it as quickly as it can. So what I'm doing by doing these kind of relatively quick movements here is I'm telling my body I need speed. I need speed in the muscles, and that way there are different muscle groups, and there are different types of muscle, and we need the muscle which contracts quickly. And that's what I'm trying to tell my body I need by doing this movement at speed. Even the initial transition where I have the feeling of just this very small movement here where my trail shoulder is almost doing this kind of slight rotation backwards, and my hips are doing this almost like, looks here like a little bit of kind of a jerky kind of pulling it back. I'm trying to get the bum back and around and the shoulder down at the same time. And just a small kind of movement there, getting that a little bit, or practicing that a little bit more abruptly, will kind of give my brain the information that I don't want to be taking my time with this. So when I get into the swing, I'm not going to try and do it quickly. I'm not going to get pulling or jerky. I want to just allow my body to know this, that I don't want it to be taking its time here. And you can see if I can get the club down here a little quicker, then when I release, I don't know if you can hear that, I'm really generating a great deal more club head speed. When I get up to the golf ball though, I'm not going to think about that at all. And you're probably not going to see that in the slow motion. You're not going to see the bum going back. You probably won't see the shoulder coming down. But what we might be able to show you is the kind of amount of time that it's taking. And if you look at the tour pros, they're getting into this kind of release position within under a fifth of a second, so around about 180 milliseconds from the top of their backswing as they change direction to this position is under a fifth of a second. From there to the ball, you're looking around about 30 milliseconds, and then you've got this full movement through, which gives you this kind of feeling of everything being quite smooth and long and taking quite a while. And that's really what your eye is seeing, and that's why you can't really understand how this guy has just hit the golf ball so far. So what we're trying to do is change, apart from anything, the kind of rhythm of your golf swing, so that you have this feeling of this kind of very short, sharp movement, followed by this, although it's the most energetic movement, the straightening of the legs and the arms. You see, as far as the camera is concerned, it looks kind of a here, and then a kind of a smooth going through the golf ball. Quite quick, smooth. Quite quick, smooth. But when I get to the golf ball, we're just letting the body do it itself. If you can drill your body to make the transition a bit more dynamic, you're going to get more base speed in your hands and your club. And then making the release is going to be multiplying a good amount of hand speed and club speed and getting you those numbers that you would like to see if you haven't seen them yet. Great technique is one thing, but getting that good technique up to speed is another. And you've got to be practicing that as well, I'm afraid. Hope this helps you. Hope it doesn't ruin your timing. If it does, you've got to practice it a bit more often. If you liked it, hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed to me yet, please do so. I'll be back very shortly with another one. The little bell will give you a notification when I do. See you next time. Bye-bye.